What's up, guys? John here. In April, Tesla committed to firing 10,000 workers. Everybody was talking about this. This was the big story. 10% of their entire workforce was axed.
Another big name to the long list of companies laying off employees.
Global automotive and energy company Tesla is planning to lay off more than 10% of its global workforce.
However, today they report that they are now issuing another round of layoffs, potentially another 10,000 employees. So 20,000 workers, roughly 20% of their entire staff is getting terminated. Think about that. Over a 30 to 35 day window, they're cutting 20% of their workforce. Why? Well, there was a deal done in a back room somewhere, a $12 billion deal. And this deal right here, I'm going to show you this. Auto industry's switch to EV gets a $12 billion deal from the U.S. Energy Department.
President Biden's electric vehicle push.
50% of all passenger vehicles sold by 2030 will be electric.
Gas-powered vehicles are poised to be phased out as the Biden administration makes an aggressive push to go green.
When you look at this and you kind of add all this up and you start to see what these new laws are that go into effect 2026, 2028, and onward, it's going to push a massive and radical change throughout the entire automotive industry. It's going to change the way in which we transport. It's going to change cars. It's going to change everything about travel domestically via road here in America. And I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to show you what's going to happen and what this is going to mean for car prices nationwide. Please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube will share this content, educate more people about what's going on in the U.S. economy. If you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for funding, maybe you want to invest in distressed real estate, maybe you want to buy a new car, a work truck, you have some type of goal, but you need funding to achieve it. If you have bad credit, we'd love to help you. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any issue at all in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow, for Tuesday. Take a look at this. So it is pretty shocking. So this came out, Business Insider. Tesla sends out another wave of layoff notices as they enter the fourth week of job cuts, right? Well, so, and this is getting attention everywhere. 23 minutes ago, New York Post. This is all 2 hours ago, 8 minutes ago. Now look at this. Here's kind of what I think is going to happen. And we're already seeing this unfold. We're seeing Tesla and a lot of these electric vehicle makers slashing prices, trying to sell these electric cars. A lot of people are just simply, they're tapped out financially. They're not buying the cars. And a lot of people don't want an electric car. Some people do. There's people that really want an electric car. There's a lot of people that said that's the last thing I'll ever drive, right? And so when you look at this situation, you look at the scenario where most Americans are in right now, which is inflation is very brutal. Cost of food, cost of living is very, very high. People are cutting expenses. And when they cut expenses, the first thing that they do is look for the big ticket items, one of which is car insurance. And it's gotten to the point where now 14% nationwide no longer drive with insurance. That's 2022. This came out about 2 months ago. So now the number is probably 2024. You can imagine the cost of living has gotten a lot worse. And so this number is definitely higher. In Florida, they say the entire state, more than 20% of all Florida drivers are driving uninsured. And so what this means is they keep saying, and every week, every 2 weeks, they're talking about this, why insurance is going to continue to go higher and higher and higher at a 47-year high. So what this is going to mean is presently electric vehicles for an annual policy are about $4,000 a year, about $337 a month. And so they're slashing prices dramatically to try to sell these cars. And so a lot of people jump into these leases, they jump into these specials and these entry-level offers. I mean, they're everywhere. Look at this, for example. Model Y, $30,000, $31,000. That's absolutely shocking. At least it is to me. $31,000 for this car. This car was twice that price just a few years ago. And so what's going to happen is we're going to start to see a rug pull unfolding inside of the automotive industry, which is going to start to push a lot of people to save money on the purchase of these cars. A lot of them are going to drive uninsured. And as this begins to unfold, we're going to start to see this transition to electric cars. And this transition to electric cars is going to be sweeping. It's going to be major. It's going to be massive. I mean, look at this. For example, buying home and auto insurance is becoming impossible. Huge losses from national disasters prompt industry to jack up prices and pull back from some markets. Worst possible scenario for consumers. So what this looks like is first we look at the timing. At the height of the market, right, Elon sold $39 billion worth of stock. It says under SEC rules, at the time, he didn't have to disclose on the form whether he was using such a plan. Mr. Musk has sold 39 billion of Tesla stock since his stock's November 21 peak. Perfect timing. And then almost another 23 billion last year. So 44 billion, they say, to fund the acquisition of Twitter. I'm not sure about that. Maybe. It could be. It could be. But I think what we need to look at are dates and timelines and laws and really kind of connect this, remove all opinions, remove any emotion about what anyone thinks about the auto market, and just look at what is actually happening. In 2008, 2009, Tesla almost went under, right? The government came out, gave them a $465 million loan for an electric sedan, right? So they issued them really a life jacket for almost $500 million. You think there's no deal done, or it was just, as the goodness of their heart, or you think there was, a conversation had? I would argue that there's probably a conversation had, especially when you look at the fact that, now there's a $12 billion push just last year, and you start to connect the dots here. 35% of new cars to be sold, plug-in hybrid electric, PHEW EVs or hydrogen cells by, in a year and a half, and then 68% in the next 5.5 years, and then 100% in the next 11 years. So what this is going to mean is essentially electric vehicles are taking over. Gas vehicles are getting phased out entirely. And so as gas vehicles get phased out entirely, these electric car makers that are getting these massive multi-billion-dollar deals are going to be able to slash prices dramatically. And it's going to be a race to the bottom inside of the auto market. And so what that means, people that have gas cars, is there's going to be fewer buyers that are looking to buy these cars in the coming years. And there's going to be lenders that are going to be more reluctant to lend on these cars, knowing that it's going to be a vehicle that's probably going to lose value over time. And it's going to be much harder to find, a buyer on the flip side of that car 4 or 5 years from now, right? And so it's going to get harder to fund and finance these deals. And so what I find very, very fascinating is so far already 12 states already said that these cars are going to be banned. They'll be banned, outright banned in 11 years, right? 12 U.S. states with plans to ban gas-powered cars. That's what it says. Now, what I find as the kind of the final nail in the coffin is this. Americans expect mortgage rates to rise to nearly 10% in the next 3 years. Now, if mortgage rates rise to 10%, imagine what that will do to a used car interest rate. I mean, right now they're saying if you have average credit on a used car, just on a mortgage right now, you're 7.5% to 8%, depending on your credit score. Most people don't have an 800 credit score, but for a used car, you're looking somewhere in the realm of 10 to 20%, depending on your credit score, right? Depending on your credit score, you're somewhere probably 10 to 20%. And if rates go up, the prime rate goes up, the interest rate on these cars is going to go up dramatically. And so if you're buying, let's just say, we'll call it a $40,000 car, and it's a 60-month loan term, 5-year loan, and it's a 15% interest rate, it's $927 a month. $927 a month for that vehicle. With increased car insurance, and let's just call it $50 a week for gas. Let's say car insurance is $300 a month, or $250, and it's $50 a week for gas. That's another $200 a month. That's $450 plus this. You're looking at $1,350, $1,400 a month to buy that car. So how many buyers are going to be there to buy that? I would imagine not many. But on a lease of an electric vehicle for $150 a month, and car insurance, you start to look at this, it's going to become more and more and more attractive for lenders to lend on these electric vehicles. They're going to get rebates and protections from the government, and it's going to get more risky to lend on these cars. Now, some people might say, oh, John, you only put $1,000 down. The average loan to value on a gas car is 125% loan to value. Americans put no money down. They roll taxes, tags, fees, they roll everything into the loan. Look at Kelley Blue Book. They report on it. Everybody's reporting on this. So this number would actually be much higher in an average scenario. Now, repair costs are continuing to rise for gas cars. So while overall inflation has eased, car repair costs are up 17% from last year. So here's how this all plays out. Delinquency rates on gas cars are at a 30-year high right now, 30-year high, and you start to connect the dots and you see it. This is 7 years ago. Why 95% of your driving won't be in your car, right? It won't be in your car. Now, some people say, John, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Look, this is NBC. You tell me, in 2017, how crazy and far-fetched would this have been, this article? It would have been, nobody would have thought it was real. Now, it's more believable, right? It's more believable because it's actually going to happen. This is going to happen. We're going to see defaults skyrocket on these gas cars. And people are going to start to opt in. It's going to go from gas cars to, no, I'm going to lease an electric vehicle, I'm going to buy an electric car, to, look, the insurance has gotten out of control. I'm not going to spend $800 or $1,000 a month in car insurance for this car. I'm just going to Uber it. I'm going to Lyft it. I'm going to move into a city. I'm going to take trains. I'm going to, do rideshare. I'll do whatever I have to do, and I'm going to move into the cities. And that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly where we're going. I mean, they even report on Business Insider, May 4th, 2017, and this came out May 5th, 2017. Basically the same article, right? And they said in 5.5 years, nearly nobody in the U.S. may own a personal car. Instead, most Americans would hail self-driving electric ride shares to get around. So the moral story, why is Tesla laying off 10,000, 20,000 employees in the course of 60 days or 45 days? It's because Americans aren't going to be able to afford to buy cars the next year or two at prices in which make a lot of sense. They're going to offload a lot of the inventory that they've already built, and they're going to, get rid of the fat of that company. And they're going to start to become more lean and mean. I believe this company, Tesla, is going to heavily rely on their humanoid robot. Elon said that the humanoid robot will be bigger and a much more valuable component to Tesla's value than the car itself. And why is that? Well, the Tesla bot, they said for 20 grand, will be able to go food shopping for you and get rid of boring and tedious and dangerous tasks. So this is where we're moving. We're moving into a completely different world, a different society. It's happening rapidly. What do you think about this entire situation? Where do you see car prices going? Where do you see electric prices going? I personally think they'd be able to sell these electric vehicles if they wanted to for 5 grand, 3 grand, 10 grand. Why? It's because the government will just issue them more and more and more money to sell these cars. It's a law that they have to sell a certain amount of these cars every single year starting in 2026. So if there's not buyers that can afford to buy them, they're just going to keep slashing the prices more and more and more. Everybody that has an electric vehicle currently will likely see the value of that electric car fall. And the same with gas cars. I mean, look, I own a gas car. It is what it is, right? Facts are facts. What do you think about this entire situation? Drop below. Let's have a conversation about this. And if you're interested in fixing your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow, for Tuesday. Catch you next video.